nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
How's life in Julia world at the moment?
It's been good. Been very busy with the album release coming up and all that, and my tour coming up. So I've been, very busy planning that. And it's a lot of really exciting things are coming up.
Absolutely. Like after, what is it, like 3 years of music, finally to have
Yeah, like I started recording this whole album. Like I started writing it initially back in like 2020. So it's like so exciting, and it feels like a weight's lifted off my shoulders to finally get this out. And people, from like people that I've listen to so far that are close friends of mine, they love it. So I'm excited for like the public to finally listen to it.
When your friends listen to it, are you with them when they're listening to it?
Yeah, you know what? I put it on in the car and I'm like, hey, check this out. I just recorded. What do you think? And they're, most of the time they're like, wow, it's really, really good. I love it. So,
most of the time.
Most of them, all of them. They're really supportive, obviously. My friends, my family are really supportive.
Yeah. So when you listen to it and somebody else is sat next to you listening to it at the same time, do you hear it differently than when you were listening to it in the studio or wherever you recorded it?
That's a good question. Well, in the studio, when I'm tracking vocals and stuff, obviously I don't hear like the full thing come together until I get the mixes back, which is like a couple months after the studio. So yeah, it's a little bit different hearing things come together finally. And even after I get my master's back too, it's even more like perfected and everything is just like, radio ready kind of thing. So when I hear it in the car, it's just like, wow, it's definitely how I wanted the songs to turn out in the end,
So you say you started it back in 2020.
Yes.
So what was like the catalyst moment for the album? Like, was it a song or a lyric or just something that set you off on that track?
Yeah. So actually the first single that I released back in the summer, Running on Empty, that was the one I first started writing. And I wrote it because, COVID was kind of just starting. Everybody was in lockdown. We weren't able to really go anywhere or perform for that matter. So I was kind of in a little bit of a stump, and I'm sure a lot of artists could relate to that. So I wrote a song just kind of, writing about how I was feeling at the time. I was running on empty. I didn't really know what I was wanting to do with my life at the time. Music was kind of unknown because of what we were going through. And I just felt empty. I didn't really have any inspiration really, except for writing that song. And then once I finished writing the song, I was like, you know what, this is actually like really relatable. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. So I started writing like a whole on album kind of relating to that theme of, feeling like you are running on empty, trying to get out of that stump, trying to kind of make your way towards the light. And you'll hear it throughout the album when it comes out that like I talk about, themes of, again, running on empty, trying to find yourself within like what's going on with the world, and, just trying to come to terms with like what's happening and trying to make your way towards the light. So that's kind of what the album's about. And I started with the Running on Empty song, and the album is actually called Running on Empty as well.
So you released your first music in 2019, that's right?
2019, yeah. Oh my God, it feels like so much longer than that. Yeah, so like I recorded my first few songs back in 2018 at a different studio with a different producer. And like at the time, obviously I was getting my feet wet. I was kind of experimenting with like different sounds and what exactly I wanted my sound to be. So though I do love my old music, and you'll find it on Spotify, you can hear the progression when you hear like this new album coming out. It's definitely harder. It's definitely more me. So yeah.
It must have been doubly frustrating that your career was just like about to begin, and then we had the pandemic. But
yes,
it feels like it almost gave you some time to just reflect on how you wanted to move forward and actually have the time to experiment with things to find your sound, like you said.
Yes, exactly.
So the first song was Running on Empty. And obviously when you wrote that song, did you know that it was the beginning of an album, or you were just like writing songs at that point?
I knew I wanted to make an album. At first I was thinking more of like an EP, so like 4 or 5 songs. Just because at the time I didn't really have the money financially to record a whole album. It's a lot of money, obviously. So I was thinking maybe like a 5-song EP, similar to what I released. My first EP was like 5 songs or 4 songs or whatever. So I was thinking of doing another EP, but then I applied for Factor, and I was grateful to receive a Factor grant, which honestly, oh my God, it helped me so much. So I was able to like, financially be able to afford to record a whole like 8-song album. So that's what I did. And I had a lot of songs kind of in my like library that I've written over the years, but never really like finished because, I didn't really know if they were the best to put on an album. I didn't know if they were like more singles or just kind of like a backlog of just a bunch of things I wrote over the years. And me and the band were hard at work, trying to perfect each song and make it the best I can be. And I'm really happy with it.
So you mentioned the band there. Tell us a little bit about who helped you put this album together.
Yeah, so my band currently is Matt Hatch. He's the guitar player. I have Duncan Stan. He's the bass player. And currently I'm just kind of, without a drummer, I'm currently just kind of using a bunch of different session guys for drummers. But my main band is Matt and Duncan. And Matt, primarily, he was the one who like really, really helped shape the songs the way that they turned out to be. And basically, when it comes to songwriting, I usually give him an idea, whether it's like just a lyric, like a vocal melody, or just an instrumental. And I sent it to him, and I'm like, hey, like, what do you think of this? Do you want to, work on this kind of idea or whatever? And 9 times out of 10, he's on the same page as me, which is great. And we kind of just work on that. And he usually sends back like a whole instrumental of what he feels the song should sound like, working off of the idea, obviously, of what I gave him before. And that's kind of how we like songwrite. We kind of collaborate together on that. Duncan makes cool bass lines, put in the songs, and usually when it's before a studio, we like to have a good demo like sets before we like bring it to the producer, so he knows kind of like what we're going with and our ideas and whatever. So we usually have a pretty good demo, like almost perfect of what we want the song to sound like, and then the producer kind of works off of that and makes some little tweaks here and there if need be. But yeah, that's kind of how things go.
And the sound of what I've heard so far, the production is like perfect for you. It's bold, it's like in your face. Now, I know you had a pretty cool guy helping you with the production. Tell me about how that came together.
Yeah, so Sam, he's an amazing producer. He's worked with Silverstein. Silverstein obviously is Juno Nominated. He recently moved to LA and he started working with a bunch of great hard rock bands that I look up to. So having him to be the producer for this album was like amazing. I heard about him actually back in 2019, and I was initially like back then going to do some songs with him to see how we work and if things go well. But of course the pandemic hit, so I wasn't able to do that. But I had it in my mind to go with him for a while to work on some stuff. So when I finally was able to hit the studio with him, I was very, very happy. And he was an amazing person to work with. He had great ideas and just a great human being in general. Like there was no egos or anything like that in the studio, which is amazing because I hate working with egos. But yeah, he's a great producer. I highly recommend any musician who's in the hard rock genre to work with him.
So the album comes out on March the 10th. It's called Running on Empty.
Yeah.
Would you say the songs are connected in any way? Like, is there a theme as such? I mean, you talk about like how you were feeling during the pandemic and all that. Is that like something that runs throughout the album?
No, like it talks about different things. When it comes to songwriting specifically for this album, I wasn't really talking about my personal experiences per se. I was kind of I was asking a lot of people what they were feeling. Not even like throughout the pandemic, but just like things in general, like whether it's heartbreak or feeling like you were betrayed by a best friend, like just different feelings that people feel throughout life. And I like to just kind of write about other people's experiences. Like I feel like I just get a lot of, I don't know, I feel like it's easier for me to write about someone else's story than myself, if that makes sense. Like it's kind of weird that way. Though some of the songs, again, like I was saying, Running on Empty is about my experience with the pandemic or whatever, but like songs like Moving Forward, which is a song on the album, it's about heartbreak, and I've never really experienced heartbreak. I was just kind of gathering what other people have felt during heartbreak to write that song. And I've been betrayed before by people, unfortunately, so it's kind of like some songs are about people who have betrayed you in life, and also narcissists. Like I quite literally have a song called Narcissistic Entity on the record. So yeah, like I kind of just experiment with different things, and I like to ask people what their stories are and what their thoughts are, and with like what they're dealing with in life at that point, and kind of like to write on that.
So when you're singing those songs on stage, do you feel like you're like taking on a persona, or do you kind of put yourself into their position, or do you think it as if it's your life? How does that work?
Okay, so I kind of put on a persona because I don't go by my real name. I go by my stage name, which is Vilivant. And so I kind of put on this like hard rocker chick kind of persona, very like in your face. It's funny because when I am performing, like people wouldn't expect like how shy I am actually in person, because like on the stage, I'm playing this character, whatever. But then when I, go and greet fans or whatever after a show, I'm always like, well, hi, how are you? Thanks for coming out. And they're like, well, that's not the same person I saw on stage, But yeah, like I definitely do put on a persona.
And when you write in the songs, is it in your mind that, like how they're going to transform onto a stage? Do you think about that at that point?
Sometimes it depends on the song. For example, the song that I mentioned earlier, Narcissistic Entity, is a very like punk rock, very like in your face kind of song. And when I was writing, I'm like, dude, this is gonna be like a really fun song to perform on stage, because it's so like dun, 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 like very like jumpy. So when I wrote it, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna like dive into the crowd when I'm singing this song, or like get into the audience when I'm singing this song, like really get the crowd involved, because it's just like it's like a moshy kind of song.
Excellent. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know you have a few dates coming up. You're actually coming to Montreal.
Yeah. Yes, I am. April 15th.
April 15th. And who else is on the bill? You're going to be at Piranha Bar, right?
Yeah, Piranha Bar. I have Astral Gates on the bill, and Late Night Trouble.
Yeah, Astral Gates. We've done a lot with them in the past. Yeah. Great band. That's going to be a good bill.
Yeah.
They get nice and sweaty in Piranha Bar, I think.
Oh yeah, I've never been there, obviously. So it's so funny. Like they have actual like piranhas in there, and I'm like excited to see that.
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's going to be a big year for you. I wish you all the best with it. I think things are going to happen. Like there seems to be a lot of interest in what you've done so far. So I bet people are just waiting to hear an entire album. So yeah, absolutely. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, thanks for your time, and we'll see you in Montreal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I feel my head